about her book in a little while. And she sent me some things to read from her book. But
and also the fact that she just lost her mother too.
Yes, her mother's funeral was Wednesday.
I mean, we're all dealing with things, but Marjorie, I just have to say something about Marjorie. Marjorie year before last, donated $1,000 to the Pulpwood Queens girlfriend fund to scholarship people in. Okay.
Nice.
Scholarship people into girlfriend weekend. She is the most generous person I've ever seen in my life, and I just love her to death. So buy her book. You guys, do a big favor. Get her book. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, about Marjorie, it's interesting because when this book came out, I barely had heard of it. She was at the Texas Book Festival with Sarah McCoy, who's a friend of mine. And so I went to Sarah's panel and Marjorie was with her. And right away I bought the book and everything. Then I found out she was going to be at Pulpwood Queens. So Texas Book Festival was in November, I think. Pulpwood Queens, January, I met her there. Then she came to San Antonio for the San Antonio Book Festival. And I teased her that I was stalking her because everywhere she went, that's where I was. But yeah, she also told me to let you know that because this book, it's been in talks for a film for a while. And let me see what she wrote. She said that she talked to the film producers yesterday, and they're looking at doing a series now, kind of like the Queen's Gambit kind of a thing. He's already written the screenplay for this. So awesome. Exciting news for her with all the bad stuff that's going on.
It's amazing.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm glad to be here. I don't feel right because I'm not in a salon chair and my hair isn't getting teased out to here, but we'll do the best we can. So also with me, I have Barbara Davis, my friend Barbara, who was on my panel last year. Deborah Mantella, who was also on my panel last year. They were the virgins last year, but they are virgins no more.
Nope.
But Jax is it Frey or Fry?
I'm a virgin?
Yes. You're a also virgin, yes.
Anything could happen this year.
Hey, you never know.
And has.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I'm glad to have you all here with me.
Thank you.
I haven't ever met Jax, but I feel like I know her.
I know me too.
So anyway, we're just going to talk about first. I want you to talk about your story, your personal story, how you got to this place, how you ended up with these books being written, and about your other story, your story that we're talking about today, so we have Deborah's book, My Sweet Vidalia, Last of the Moon Girls, and Gumbo Love. Are we talking about Gumbo Love or Gumbo Sisters?
We can talk about both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Talk about it's a series, so I'll just
that's right.
Squish them.
I have my earrings. Jack sent me earrings. She is an artist also, in case you don't know. And she sent me earrings. Oops, and I should have put them on to match her book cover.
So jealous.
They're very cool. They match her book cover.
There you go.
She does really cool work. So who wants to go first? Barbara, you want to go first?
Sure.
You're next to me on the screen, so you go first.
Okay. I am Barbara Davis. I am currently in Rochester, New Hampshire, and I am finishing book 7 today, hopefully in the next 4 hours after I get off of here. My editor hopes so too. So I have six out, and the 7th is I'm just finishing up. How I got here, in my wildest dreams, I would never have imagined that I would actually get to be here. I was in the jewelry business and got laid off in the middle of the recession, which happened at the best time because I was completely fried and starting to realize that I needed to find something else to do. I just didn't know what. So I wasn't really ready when I got booted out of the nest. And my husband, wonderful man that he is, said, "You have wanted to write a book. You've had an idea for a book for 4 years. Stay home and write the book and chase your dreams. See what happens." So I stayed home and wrote the book, and thank goodness, thank the goddess, I get to be here with you guys today.
And it's funny with Barbara, because We think we're like cousins, like 5 times removed. We were
We have-
both born in the same
Wow.
town. We were both born in Paterson, New Jersey. And I found Barbara's books when Diane Chamberlain, who I'd read everything that she wrote, said, if you like my books, why don't you read Barbara Davis? And so I did.
Thrill of my life.
Yes, that was so cool. And then Barbara, she lives in New Hampshire, and my husband and I have vacationed there a couple of times, and we've had lunch with her both times that we had been to New Hampshire or Maine. We were in Maine last time, but so yeah. They had this, and somehow I think your mother's maiden name or my mother's, somebody in my father's family, they all have the same
They have
last
the same,
name.
yep, they have the same last name. We both have brothers named Tom.
Yes.
So there's just a lot of connections. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like sisters under the skin kind of thing.
Somebody said, I think Kathy, you said today that you feel like people come into our lives for a reason. I've always felt that way. And I feel that way about Barbara with all the different connections that we have. It's interesting. So, all right. Did you have anything you wanted to read from your book or?
Oh, I can. Hang on one sec. I wasn't really sure what we were doing.
Oh, we're reading.
I'm never sure what we're doing because I have been living with my head in this
I know.
in the editing cave.
I know you were in your cave this morning. So.
Oh yes. Okay, I'll read from the prologue, I
Okay.
guess. Okay, I'll just read from the prologue. It's easier to do it that way. A body that this is written, just so you know, this is written in a memoir voice from a woman who is no longer present. She's no longer earthbound. A body that's been submerged in water undergoes a different kind of decomposition, harsher in some ways, kinder in others, or so I've been told. We moons wouldn't know about that. We choose fire when our time comes and scatter our ashes on land that has been in our family for more than 2 centuries. Mine are there now too, mingled with the dust of my ancestors. Can it really only be 2 weeks that I've been gone? Weeks hovering between worlds, unable to stay, unwilling to go, tethered by regret and unfinished business. The separation feels longer somehow. But I'm sorry, I don't have the bright light here and I'm half blind as it is. But it is not my death I dwell on today, but the death of 2 young girls, Darcy and Heather Gilman, more than 8 years ago now. They've been they've been missing nearly 3 weeks before their bodies were finally pulled from the water. It was a ghastly thing to watch, but watch I did. They were dragging my pond, you see, convinced that they would find what they were looking for. And why not, when the whole town was looking in my direction? Because of who I was and what I was, or at least what they imagined me to be. Memory, it seems, does not die along with the body. It's been years since that terrible day at the pond, and yet I remember every detail, replay them again and again on an endless, merciless loop. The police chief and his waiters, his men with their boat, the MEs the MEs van looming nearby, its back doors yawning wide in anticipation of new cargo. The bone-white face of a mother waiting to learn the fate of her girls, whispers hissing through the crowd like electric current, and then the telling shrill of a whistle. A hush settles over us, the kind that carries a weight of its own, the weight of the dead. No one moves as the first body appears, the glimpse of an arm in a muddy brown coat, water pouring from the sleeve. Water pouring from the sleeve as the sodden form is dragged up onto the bank. A bloated, blackened face, partly obscured by hanks of sopping dark hair. They're careful with her, handling her with a tenderness that's gruesome somehow and agonizing to watch. They're preserving the evidence, I realize, and a cold lick goes down my spine, so they can make their case against me. A short time later, a second body appears. and there comes a broken wail, a mother's heart breaking for her darlings. And that's how it all unraveled, that awful day that set it all in motion. The end of the farm, and perhaps the end of the moons.
Nice.
Very good. Jax,
I
how
love
did
that.
you end up? How did you end up becoming an author? What was your journey like?
Well, that was kind of interesting.
They
Yeah,
always
I'm
are, aren't they?
Kathy knows. Like Kathy, I'm an artist, and I've been an artist for many, many years. And about like 12 years ago, something like that, I lost track. I started painting this series called The Gumbo Sisters, and there were many different paintings. I have a couple. Like this is the Gumbo Sisters at the beach, and I mean, there's a couple of dozen of these kind of paintings. This is the Gumbo Sisters in the French Quarter because I'm from New Orleans, and some of them are hanging around in my house because I kept some of them. I liked them, and so the thing about them is, you keep looking at these paintings, and after a while, they start sort of talking to you, and these women seemed like they had a story, and then it kind of felt like these women were my friends. They started reminding me of certain friends that I had, and I started, fitting this one with that friend and that sort of thing. So the story just kind of came out in me, and that's somebody had to write it. I guess it was going to be me.
And they feel like friends. The women in your book feel like friends.
I know. I love
especially with the
visiting.
second book.
Yeah, I love visiting with them. It's like,
Yeah.
up to today, and they're always in trouble,
Well, that's true.
So yeah, they're kind of fun. But the two books we were talking about is the Gumbo Sisters and the sequel, the Gumbo Love. And now I'm working on a third one, and it's going to be called Gumbo Magic.
Oh,
And it's coming out sometime this year when I can get to it. I hope I make deadlines, but it's been a weird year, but I'm trying.
that's all right. You have a little passage you would like to read from your book or anything? Yeah, I know you don't have anything prepared, but
I didn't pick out something, but
and
I'll
that's okay.
read the back of the book and you'll know
Sure,
about that, or at least the first one.
sure.
5 Southern women over 50 wage a war against the ageism problems of one of their sisters, using their improbable friendship, hilarious evil genius schemes, and shared passion for a good gumbo. The Gumbo Sisters is a heartwarming, smart, hilarious read. When Southern artist Judith Lafferty, which is my mom's last name, loses her longtime prestigious museum job to a much younger man, she finds herself devastated, alone in her 50s, and on the brink of financial disaster. Enter the incomparable Gumbo Sisters, who deliver day-old cold coffee to Judith's front door as a ploy, kidnap her, feed her gumbo, and come up with outrageous solutions to her problems. Their motives are basically just good excuses to drink wine, have a fabulous time, argue over whose mother makes the best gumbo, and most of all, help a sister out. Ageism, dangerous boyfriends, deep loneliness, and any other challenges that can face the over 50 crowd don't stand a chance against these 5 resourceful ladies. Trust me, you're going to wish the Gumbo Sisters could show up at your house. There you go.
Very good.
And they have.
Hi, Deborah.
Hey, everybody. I feel like the slacker of the group now. I'm just working on my second novel, but talk about the first one, My Sweet Vidalia, and well, let's see, Susan, how did we meet? It seems like I've known you my whole life.
I know.
Somehow. So,
Somebody, I think we have a mutual author friend, and we have
Okay.
many. But
yeah.
somebody gave you my name, I think. And
Okay.
you contacted me and said, hey,
Okay.
this is what I wrote. Would you like to read it? And I did.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
rest is history.
All right. And then
And that was a long time ago.
that was a while ago. Yeah. And we've gotten to be pretty good friends here.
Yeah.
So let's see. I was a teacher in my other life. And I always told stories. I told the kids stories, my own children's stories. And then they started bugging me about trying to write a book. And I did write a few children's stories, but it really wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I got the idea for this one. Actually, I first got the idea for the one I'm working on now. So this is actually the second one I'm writing because I wasn't ready for the first one. So anyway, My Sweet Vidalia is a story of, it's a mother-daughter love story, and it is narrated by a spirit child. And she's kind of a little sassy little spirit child. And it's about love and friendship and grace, grit, hope, redemption. Celie May is the spirit child, and she's practical yet impractical yet pragmatic presence. And as Barbara was talking about otherworldly narrators, that's mine too.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when Barbara said that.
Yeah,
I love My Sweet Vidalia. I just
Yeah.
love it.
thank you.
Yes.
And I love the Moon Girls.
Spoke to me.
So I kind of, this is kind of my symbol. This little heart in the middle is Vidalia. One of the wings is her spirit child, and one of the wings is Ruby Pearl, a church lady that she's going to meet later on in the book. And Celie May is, like I said, she's a sassy little spirit child, but Ruby Pearl is the person I would think we all strive to be. The friend
I
we
love
strive to
Ruby
be.
Pearl.
She's usually the favorite.
Those are my kind of characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were we going to talk about donations, or we'll do that afterwards?
We do that after.
I'll just, okay. So I can read
Yes.
a little bit.
Sure.
Oh, that's the UPS guy. Book. Okay, I'm going to read the prologue because it kind of explains the spirit child situation. My mama believes all babies to be gifts from God, no matter what. But for as sure she was in that truth, she understood how, time to time, one or another of them cherubs might get lost or redirected. Mama reckoned only the bravest of the brave dared commit to this earth, and that regardless of pronouncements otherwise, I was one of those. Still was all she'd heard. Why she wished it so hard, I could almost see my reflection in her eyes. The body doesn't always have a choice, she whispered, but the spirit does. Ain't that right, baby girl? My name is Celie Mae Jackson, birthed in 1955 on the 4th of July to Vidalia Lee Candle Jackson, 17 of Willen County, Georgia. Of importance in this telling is that upon first breath, any omniscience is expunged, annulled, poof, gone. In plain speak, had I but gasped, wheezed, panted, or sighed, past, present, or to come. As I never did pull that first breath, I see most all of what was, what is, and what could be. I cannot say what might have happened had I come unto Mama by way of more common channels. I can only tell what did happen because I did not.
Very good. So let me talk about Marjorie's book a little bit since she's not here.
So that did you hear me? Because it said my connection was bad.
Yeah, a couple of times you went out for a minute, but you came right back.
Well, that's because we just had it upgraded.
Of course.
Been having this happen since this week because we had it upgraded last
I mean,
time.
it happens all the time. So Marjorie's book is called When the Men Were Gone.
Okay, now you're frozen. Okay.
You back?
Oh.
Okay. It's called When the Men Were Gone. It's set in 1944 in Brownwood, Texas, and it tells the story of Tylene Wilson, who became a high school football coach, based on a true story, because the men were all either at war or they were injured and couldn't. And she sent me a passage to read, so I will read this to you. And it's kind of interesting. Brownwood High School Brownwood is a small town up in North Texas. I've never been there, but far away from me. But I think they've named part of the state, or they've either named the stadium or the press box or part of it after Tylene since this book has come out. It's kind of interesting. She kind of found a whole new audience for Tylene. So there's a football game going on, and this is Tylene talking. She says, look, if Jimmy had flipped the football to the halfback on the triple option on 3rd down on the last possession against Abilene last season, knowing the linebacker had already bitten on the fullback dive, we would have won the game. If we had stuffed the box and our middle linebacker had stunted on Abilene's last touchdown, we would not only have stopped the run, we would have sacked the quarterback. Our punt return team can't find the lanes, and our blockers need to improve their torques. Mr. Redwine, who I think he was the principal of the school, Mr. Redwine didn't say a word. He stood motionless as if paralyzed by fear. Then he began to pace with his eyes, as if Moonshiner had followed me to Mr. Redwine's office and listened at his door just to nose into whatever I may have wanted to discuss on a Saturday morning. In any case, John and I knew it wouldn't be long. Oh, you know what? I skipped a page. Sorry, that didn't make any sense. Let me go back. Then he began to pace with his eyes fixed on the floor. He ran his fingers through his hair, looked up at me, and appeared prepared to speak, but he stopped himself. He began to pace again, not looking up at me this time. Finally, he took a loud, deep breath and then exhaled. He turned to me, Dag, blast it, Tylene. And that was after she gave him that play and told him what should have happened in the football game. He started thinking, well, maybe she should be the football coach. So it's kind of a cool story. And I don't want to say anything that's not true. I think that Marjorie wrote her thesis based on, or that this was her thesis, or something like that. Well, I don't want to say that. Anyway, all right. So I know that Deborah wanted to talk about what she has for the auction. So do you want to talk about that?
Uh-oh.
You're muted again. There you go.
Okay, all right. Well, my donation includes just like this, a moonshine decorator, moonshine jug.
Oh, no.
I know.
Because moonshine does play into the story. Not this one, already there with Jonathan. This one's mine.
Empty or full?
Notebook. Am I sweet guy?
Empty or full?
Oh. Unfortunately, it's empty because I would have gotten in a lot of trouble for mailing it full.
Should have asked sooner.
BYOM, bring your own moonshine.
Literary arts tea towel from Story Arts, and something. Oh, and a shot glass that has a saying from my story, my book.
Nice.
That's what I have in mine.
Very good. Barbara and Jax, do you have donations for the auction, or?
I sadly do not.
That's okay.
This
You've been
thing
busy.
crept up on me because I've been in the cave for a month.
I know.
I'll do better next year, I swear.
That's all right.
Well, I could do, of course, a book, one of the Gumbo Sisters books, and why don't I put in one of the Gumbo Sisters prints?
Sounds perfect.
Love that.
There we go.
Excellent
Okay.
idea. And I guess I'll have to,
There we go. Got that done.
We can do it now. We can just put something in now.
Okay,
can we?
that's what I did.
Sure.
Okay, well,
John-
so then I'll do a signed copy of the Moon Girls and a Moon Girl mug.
Well, there you go.
If you'll just take a picture of it and send it to Jonathan Hote at the Pat Conroy Center and then mail it,
And send it.
put it on the auction.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, see, auction items right there, right on the spot. Look at that. All right. So I want to not talk about COVID, but I'm curious because it's such a big part of our lives. How much has COVID impacted your writing? Or has it? I mean, I know that I've heard both ends, and I've heard that from readers too. There are some readers who can't read a book right now. And I'm reading more than I ever have because it's the one thing I can do where I can shut off the TV and just sit in my chair and just not think about anything else except for whatever it is that I'm reading. So how has COVID impacted your writing?
You know, let me say something real quick, I guess, because instead of writing at home, I can't seem to write very well at home since COVID.
Oh.
So now I go get in my car.
Oh.
And instead of, I never could write at home, but I always wrote in coffee houses. But instead of the the white noise of the coffee house. Now I go out by the river in this
Oh,
little,
wow.
and I roll down the windows. It's getting a little cold the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
but before that, I just roll down the windows and I listen to the river. So I got white noise of the river now, and I can write that way.
Wow. Oh, that's
It's
fascinating.
been actually pretty nice.
Yeah. I think we make lemons out of lemonade, I guess, when we can. Barbara, how about you?
Well, I actually had COVID, so that was fun.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that
Bruh.
was fun. It's the sickest I've ever been. So
Oh, I'm
needless
sorry.
to say, writing was just, I
Oh,
mean,
no.
when you can't breathe, you cannot think. So I had it and my husband had it. So it was really
Oh,
fun for our
man.
house. And then I got over it, and my mother wound up she had a couple falls, and she wound up having to go, right as this started, into an assisted living facility. And then they went almost immediately on lockdown, and she went into panic mode. I mean, like, we thought we would put her somewhere. She was so panicked. And I literally had to stay on chat with her almost nonstop to keep her from flipping out.
Oh.
So, of course, that's always fun trying to write. And I'm trying to write this book that is just literally trying to kill me. So, it's been a really interesting year. But through all that, this book, because this is a dual timeline book that I'm working on now, and half of it is set in Paris in 1940 during the Nazi occupation. And it has been such an escape for me to be able to slide into those chapters and just disappear. So
Yeah.
in a way, you feel trapped by, I can't get this work done. I just can't do this work. And like needing desperately to get back to it for your sanity. So it's been a weird walk this year. 2021 has to be better.
I hope so.
Knock on
We'll
wood.
see.
Yeah.
What about you, Deb?
Good.
Oh, froze again.
It's actually, after I got used to it, it actually made me a little bit more disciplined. So I was able to just know that in the morning I was going to sit down and write because I couldn't do anything else. Couldn't run around.
Oh no.
I know.
So it actually did make me more disciplined. I did a weird thing, and I was talking to Kathy about it before. I found myself unable to sit down and read books. And before COVID, I was never able to listen to books. But all of a sudden, some magical thing happened in my head, and I can listen to audiobooks because it relaxes me. And I can only listen if I have the earbud in my ear because it shuts out everything else, and it really does relax me. I don't know if anybody else has gone through that, but I was never able. I'm a little ADD, so I was never really able to concentrate on audiobook.
Oh.
Poor Deborah.
Getting longer.
Yeah.
Because maybe you set it for an hour or half an hour and you fall asleep. Then you have to go back, and it's not like pages in a book where you fall asleep with the book on your face or right next to you or something. You have to go back and listen to it and figure out where you were. But yeah, so that helps. That helps me too. That helps me relax, and I have gotten more disciplined about my writing. So in a way, it's helped. I miss the live. I miss. Oh, can you hear me? I'm seeing I'm unstable right now on the screen, which I'm a little unstable anyway. But
They don't want to say anything.
it's not the internet. It's saying it's the internet, but it's being kind.
I thought I turned that button off, everybody else except yours. Yeah.
Oh, so I let's see. I miss going to the bookstores and interacting personally with people, but Zoom is the next best thing. Thank goodness we have that, because we can still do book clubs, which I'm sure everybody that's way up there on tops of our list of things that we like to do, and meet with the readers and get their feedback and learn from them. I always say that they think they learn so much by reading a book, but I just take away so much, and I learn so much from them. when I have a book club, the questions they ask or the, what they notice. So anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's the people, because authors have had to get creative about meeting with readers and getting their books out there. So I think the internet, when it's working, is a good way to do that. So somebody else I know said that about audiobooks recently, that they haven't been able to sit down and sit with a book, but they started listening to audiobooks.
Okay.
And I
So
know
it is
that
a
for
thing.
me, like I said, I'm reading like crazy, but I'm reading a lot of romances. It's hard for me to read anything. I mean, I've read some serious books. It's hard for me to read thrillers right now. I'm having a hard time reading anything where somebody intentionally is mean to somebody, if that makes sense. But so I'm looking, and I've always been drawn to hopeful kind of books anyway, but now more than ever. And I've put aside a lot of books this year because I just started reading them. I thought, yeah, no, but
That's not like you.
despite that, I read 250 something books
That's
this
like
year because, like Deborah, I have nowhere to go. I'm sitting at home all day. I have to do something.
I wonder how many authors can stomach writing about this past year.
I've actually read a couple of books that have
Did
taken
you?
place in the
Yeah,
pandemic.
I thought about slipping some into this later,
Yeah,
and I said, no, I can't go there.
it was interesting. And one of them was called Love in Lockdown. And it was written by a British author, and it was set during the first lockdown in England, and where nobody could get out and do anything. And it's about this couple that falls in love, even though they've never seen each other. One lives above the other one in a flat, and they talk to each other from their balcony.
Well, I think I heard about
And
that.
they can't get any
Yeah.
closer.
I like that.
And it was really good. It was, and then another one I read, she kind of had the book go beyond lockdown, thinking that by 2021 we'd be out of the lockdown. And in her note at the back of the book, she mentioned the fact that she thought we'd be in a different place by now, but we're not. So yeah, I think that's going to be tricky for any author to set a book during 2020.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe there'd be a lot of historical fiction written now,
Someday.
because nobody
Yeah.
wants to write during that time. So let's see. What is your favorite part? The favorite part of writing a book for you, and your least favorite part? And anybody can go.
I think because my books are so character driven that when I get to a part where it just really shows that the epitome of that character, I really get into that. That's my favorite. My least favorite is about when you get in the middle of the book and you realize how much more you got to go. It's like, don't look at it, just keep going. Just do the next paragraph.
Keep writing.
That's about it.
Anybody else?
I actually, am I unmuted? Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like when my characters don't behave the way I expected them to. Something happens and I had this picture in my mind, this story of how it was going to go. And then I get to a certain point and it happened with my sweet Vidalia. I thought she was going to do something. And when I wrote that, it just seemed so wrong. And I had to say to myself, or she told me actually, I wouldn't do that. And I had to change the whole rest of the book because she was right. she wouldn't do that. And I think that's so, I like to write stories to figure out situations I don't understand. So I'll take a situation and I'll put my characters in it and have them work through it. And then that way I get a better understanding of what the characters go through. So, here in my mind, I thought she's going to do this thing and got to that point and no, she wasn't going to do it. So it took a whole different turn. I guess that's
good.
I think that's my favorite part.
Do you have a least favorite part?
I don't know. I have to think on that one.
That's right. Barbara, do you have anything?
I would have to say it's weird. There's no least favorite part. Probably the actual least favorite part is the nonsense between getting it written and finished and then getting it out into the market.
Mhm.
All of that,
That's
the
true.
hoop jumping in the covers and
Yeah.
and what covers can be incredibly fun to do, but they can be a nightmare if you don't have full constitution and you can't say yes or no,
Mhm.
and you have to like kind of find a way to say, I really hate that in a really nice polite way. Can we do something
Mhm.
else? And then you have to say it again and again. That gets like, I don't like to push back hard, but when you've worked so long on something, and it's just their vision is so different from yours.
Mhm.
That's my probably my least favorite part because I don't like tension. But sometimes you just have to stand up and say, no, that's just you're going in the wrong direction. And then they want to change the name and tweak that, and you're trying to explain to people that haven't read the book are trying to tweak the name, and you're like,
Yeah.
no, there's only one name for this book, and I gave it to you. So those are my least favorite parts, where kind of the creativity of it, you kind of have to share that and find a way to navigate those landmines because they can be landminey. My favorite part is just the kind of like what Deborah said, what figuring out what they'll do. And I do a very detailed outline process. My outlines are kind of like really thin first drafts. They're like 150 pages long. It's scene by scene by scene by scene. And it never fails. At some point, one of my characters is going to do exactly what Deborah said, and they're going to surprise me. And that I do find that fun.
Mess
I
everything
got
up.
3/4 of the way through my fourth novel, and all of a sudden my male protagonist lets me know that he has a drug addicted ex-wife who died in a car crash. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, who is this guy? So I literally, I thought, I'm too far into it to do that. That's insane. And he just kept whispering about this woman in my ear. So I literally had to go back and rewrite the entire book. And it was so much better because it made this guy like a real person. He was scarred, he blamed himself, and he became much more layered as a character. And if I had stuck to my rigid little outline that I had, he would not have been anywhere near as strong a character. So that's my favorite part too, is I would say the serendipity of it. Like
Mhm.
something that you think is going to be a complete pain in your tuchus just turns out to be like a shining moment.
Yeah, I always think that's interesting when authors talk about how a character taking over a story. And I guess you have to listen to them because they know who they are, I guess.
Adele took over my first book.
Yeah. Barbara was talking about covers, and when they were finalizing the cover for the
That's
last
right.
Flamingo,
I
she
sucked
showed
you
me,
in.
I saw the mock-ups of all the different covers that she'd been given, and it was fun to go. I've done that with a couple other authors. It's fun to kind of look at those and be a little part of the process, at least. And I hadn't read the book, so I really didn't know. And I know there were things that you objected to, or you're like, but I hadn't read it. So
So it was so strange. They gave me 3 covers and I hated the first 2.
Mhm.
And the third one it was okay. I said, okay, we'll go with, and it was very similar to a dear friend of mine's cover that I adored. And I thought, okay, if they tweak this, they can make it like I like it. The problem is it will be just like hers.
that was Carrie's book.
Carrie's book. Yeah. Carrie Schaefer's book, Everything You Are.
Yes.
And it was my favorite cover of the year. So I was tickled to think, and then I was like, I'm ripping her off. So I said, okay, let's do something else. I picked this one. And they said, oh, sorry, that's off the table now. I'm ripping my hair out. So we literally had to go all the way back to the drawing board and work with the one I hated the most until we got it where I wanted it.
I like
process.
It's a hard process. Can any of you talk about what you're working on now? What's your next book? Well, we know that Gumbo is going to continue the story of the friend.
Gumbo Magic is the next one.
I have got to read that whole series now.
Oh, they're fun. They're,
one I'm
they're,
looking
they're really fun books to read.
The only thing I can tell you is that I wanted it to be about moments that I've talked to with friends and that I've experienced, that just but those moments that are unusual, and they're only really short little things and out of the blue, but they feel like they add the magic to life. And I really wanted to get those moments in there. And that's about all I can say about it right now.
So,
Okay, let's see.
I know
can-
you're deep in edits. Can you talk about what you're working on or no?
Yeah, sure. I know it really, really well.
I bet.
But it ends differently today than it would have ended 2 days ago. I can tell you that. The current book that I'm working on is it's a little bit of magical realism, women's fiction, but it's a dual timeline. Part of it is set in 1985 Boston, and then part of it is set in, like I said, the occupied Paris in the early 1940s, and it is about that half of the book is a French, obviously she's from France. She's a dress designer. She comes from a long line of women who make wedding gowns, but not
Oh.
just any wedding gown. A Roussel gown is said to guarantee its wearer a happy ending.
Oh,
Hmm.
So there's some magic literally woven into these dresses and woven into the
I
story.
love that.
And
Hmm.
the main character has gone through some things, and we're in the current story. She has suffered a lot, and she's lost a lot, and she's very bitter, and she's given up on happy endings, and she's kind of become this recluse. And she still owns the building that her shop was in Boston, and it's just sitting there. And one day, this woman who's looking for a place to open an art gallery comes across this building. It's not for lease, so she tracks this woman down, tracks her attorney down, rents the building, forces this woman, like nags her until she lets her rent the building. And then one day she is clearing out some stuff, and under the stairs she finds an old dress box with this beautiful vintage wedding gown that has never been worn. There's a packet of letters inside and a man's shaving kit.
ooh.
And she's like, this is clearly belongs to someone. This is important. So she brings it back to the owner of the shop, and this woman's story starts to unfold, and these women's lives have some really eerie parallels that make you wonder if they haven't been brought together for a reason.
Ooh.
Hmm.
And when does that come out? Next year?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm hoping.
It sounds so
My
good.
publisher was so kind. They gave me an extension because of all of this stuff that between COVID and then going through that with my mother for 6 months. And then my computer crashed and I lost 6 chapters, and I called my agent one day crying and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Just breathe. We'll fix it. So I've got an extension. So it's due in today, and hopefully I'll have a pub date shortly.
Okay. Let me know. Deborah, can you talk about what you're working on?
Okay, well, My Sweet Vidalia is a mother-daughter love story. So this next one is the opposite. Think Janet Fitch's White Oleander meets Christina Crawford's Mommy Dearest,
Oh,
while Gail Honeyman's Eleanor Oliphant and her friends look on.
all right.
I have 3 narrators, and this one takes place in the 70s in Pennsylvania, back to my roots. And this is the one that I wrote first, and it's gone through many changes. I first wrote it as a young adult novel, and then I changed my mind. So now it's coming along. I just changed the ending again, but because I had to. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure it's fun, but it's kind of fun because I'm almost finished.
Well, I'll read it, whatever it is.
Okay.
It's always way more fun when you're done with them, always.
Yeah.
So one fun thing that's happened to me in the last couple of years is Barbara actually named a character after me in her book, One Never Comes. So I'm curious about and I know that Barbara she does like to name her characters after people that she knows, which I think is very cool. And I had no idea she was doing
And
that when I read the book and I went, wait, what? Well, she used my nickname. She didn't use my real name. So at first I thought, what, the person's name is Queenie? Anyway, it's a long story. Because it's weird that my nickname is Queenie. But I thought Queenie Peterson? I was like, wait. It took me a little bit, but that was fun. So do the rest of you, and Barbara, you can talk about more about that too. Have you ever named characters? Jax, you said that you named one of the characters after your mother, right?
Yeah, her last name.
Yeah.
And actually I have put people that I know their names into. There was one of the characters, and he's just he buys art from me all the time.
Oh, that's nice.
And he has this expression and whenever you talk to him, he goes, "Oh my gravy." It just cracks me up whenever he says it. So I had to throw him in, and there's a few others too. But I love him. He loved being in it, so that was good.
Yeah, it's fun to find your name in a book like that. It's a lot of fun. Deb, have you ever done that?
I actually, yes, and there are going to be several people that I know in this next book, their names. Now for My Sweet Vidalia, I got a lot of names. I went through the obituaries to find names. I never used the first and last name together. I just found a first name that I'd like and a last name that was a little quirky, and I would use that. Yeah. So I have, and I continue to.
Good.
It's fun.
It is. It's funny how these have. I don't know how hard it is. Is it hard to name characters, or do you kind of go in with a character and picture them in your mind and right away names it? Oh, that has to be that person's name.
Well, sometimes I'll have a character and then I'm thinking the whole time I'm writing, this just isn't right. This just isn't right. And then it takes, whatever it takes, and a name will hit me and I'll say, oh, that's it. Then of course I have to go back through the whole book and, do the search and find. And then sometimes they have nicknames, so you have to change that too. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
You got to get it right. It drives me crazy when you're reading a book and there'll be 5 women and characters in the book, and they're all the names are one syllable and they begin with J.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. It's like, wait, which one?
Hey, guess who's here?
Yeah.
Marjorie.
Oh, Marjorie's here.
She just joined. She should
Oh,
be
yay.
on board. Yay.
Oh, good. Where is she?
She's coming.
All right.
That means she got her shot.
Maybe so.
Got her
She got
jab.
her shot. Where are you, Marjorie?
I'm just glad she's here.
There she is. She's got her mask on.
Okay.
You're
Okay,
a
she's-
trooper, Marjorie. Are you in line? Oh, you're muted.
Is
Ask,
she still online?
I think she's still in line.
Oh, no, I just got my
Oh.
shot and I'm
Oh, she-
sitting on the 15-minute waiting. So I wanted
okay.
to say hello.
Oh,
There she is.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you got your shot.
Well, when I saw I had 2 more minutes to get on, I had to do it right away. I wish I could have been
Pretty
there the whole
good.
time, but thank
Oh.
you.
Well, we missed you. Do you want to talk about your book real quick, or do you have time? Or can you?
I just want to say that I've just been thrilled by how much support that I've gotten from Kathy and the Pulpit Queens. That, the book is in multiple prints. It's been translated to foreign language. Now it's going to be a mini series, it looks like. And,
yes.
I've just been, the journey has
That's
just been
thrilling.
incredible for me. And the support that I've gotten from the Pulpit Queens is just beyond wonderful. Thank you, Kathy and Susan and everybody.
You're welcome.
Let's give her a round of applause.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're a real trooper.
I'm telling you, this is awesome. We've got 5 minutes for you guys to wrap it up.
Yeah. Anybody? What do you want? Anybody else? What else do you want to talk about? Real quick.
How about our
Anything burning to
influences?
say? Hmm?
Our influence.
Okay.
I would say because I happen to have it right here. My father's college dictionary.
Oh,
He was my biggest influence in writing, and he was an engineer, but he should have been an English teacher. So when I was little, he gave me a thesaurus, and I thought I had died and gone to heaven because I didn't know that such a thing existed until then. I was young too, but yeah. So he was a
very good.
good teacher.
Who else? Marjorie, who was your greatest influence?
I would say my mother.
Aw.
Oh, she influenced me in every walk of life, everything. She and my father, I couldn't have been happier with the life they've given me. And my mother, though, I'll just say this real quickly. She used to always treat everybody equally. And I have a sister that's a year younger. So when we were growing up, I would tell her, let's go in our bedroom and write stories. And then we'll ask Mom which one's better. Well, my mom would always,
Yeah,
we
put mom in there.
yeah. So we would go in and we would write our stories. And then we would ask Mom, which story's better? And Mom would say, they're both the same. Well, she grew up to be a banker. I'm like, how can I not be better than a banker?
You showed her.
Barbara, who is yours?
I would have to say my great grandmother, who we called Cookie Grandma, because when she babysat us, she used to bring us the little boxes of animal crackers. So she was our Cookie Grandma, and her name was Adele. And one of my first characters I named after her because she taught me from the time I was old enough to stand up that you could do anything if you put your mind to it, and not just like working hard, but she was one of those. She was like a new ager before there were new agers. She believed the universe had your back before anybody ever thought to write that book. And my grandfather, I think he thought she was a witch because he used to shush her all the time when she would start talking to me about this. But she gave me a book one time, and it was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And I was like 12 when she gave it to me. My grandfather was horrified that she was giving me this junk to read. And I've been reading that stuff and living my life around those principles ever since. The paying it forward, and you reap what you sow. And I just, in my heart, I know that I would not be doing what I love to do if I hadn't had her wind beneath my wings as a kid.
Jax, who is yours?
My mom was, when I was a kid, I must have been about 11, I decided to write a neighborhood newspaper. And I called it the Mithra Street Messenger. And I kind of got shut down because I included like the crime section.
I love this story.
Billy hit Sally, and
That's
So funny.
Billy Taylor hit Sally Field.
I love
The mother shut me down. But my
I
mom
love
loved it, and she just kept saying. And I also just want to say, other influences. Women like you and authors like you, I've read every one of you and love all the books. So yeah, I mean, we inspire each other, I think, a lot.
Every day.
That's true. That's true. Very true.
Well, I thank all of you for being here with me. It was fun to see you, to see Jax for the first time, but to see everybody else again. And I'm glad Marjorie could make it. And thank you, Kathy, for letting
Thank
me
you, Kathy.
be part of
Thank
your
you,
big
Kathy.
pajama party.
And